All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our April Town Council meeting. We are going to start our Town Council meeting with our invocation. And at this time, I ask everyone to bow their heads and pray according to your individual beliefs. As I pray, we pray for a productive meeting, for the spirit of unity, even though we have different opinions, for the wisdom to make the best possible informed decisions and to effectively carry them out. We pray to be pure in our thoughts and our motives and to be innovative as we brainstorm solutions. Amen. And now, tonight we are pleased to have Knightdale High School students Dana Evans and Kalia McCall joining us to lead the Pledge of Allegiance. Dana Evans is a 10th grade student who recently competed in the English-speaking union of America's National Shakespeare Competition. She represented Knightdale very well and was the first runner-up. In addition to her many talents, Miss Evans is an exceptional student with a 95 average in school. Kalia McCall is an 11th grade student who recently competed in the North Carolina Poetry Out Loud competition at the Children's Theater of Charlotte. Ms. McCall won first place and will travel to Washington, D.C. later this month to represent all of North Carolina. Ms. McCall also showcased her artistic talents during the Arts in Our Schools Month with a performance at the SECU Daily Planet. Ms. McCall is also an exceptional student with a 96 average. So now let's give it up for these incredible talents that we have here this evening. And we will ask them to come up and lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance. I want to give a special thanks to Mr. Raines. Mr. Raines, I want to give you a special thanks, the theater arts teacher, for being here as well. Can we give him a round of applause? We thank you both for being here. I know that the teachers, the faculty at Knightdale High School, along with your family members, are so proud of you, and we are so proud of you as well. We thank you for leading us in our Pledge of Allegiance and continue to keep up the great work. Awesome. Next, we will move to our adoption of the agenda. Any questions, comments, or changes to tonight's agenda?
Move to adopt.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Majority approves. Motion carries. We will continue with the agenda as is for this evening. Starting with presentations, recognitions, and awards. Public Service Recognition Week proclamation. Individuals across the nation are served daily by public servants at the federal, state, and local levels. The strength and prosperity of our community depends on the dedicated efforts of its public municipal employees. Knightdale's public servants provide essential services that enhance the quality of life for all of its residents, including, but not limited to, maintaining our infrastructure, ensuring public safety, delivering critical services, and fostering a sense of community. Many public employees take not only jobs, but oaths, and risk their lives in the performance of doing their jobs. The contributions of our public servants are invaluable to the well-being of our community, and it is important to express our gratitude for their dedication. So therefore, I, Jessica Day, Mayor of the town of Knightdale, North Carolina, do hereby proclaim that the first week of May shall be recognized as Public Service Recognition Week. Thank you to all of you that serve your community and this wonderful community of Knightdale. And now we will have our police officer introduction and oaths. Chief Caps.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. You know how I feel about these occasions. It's always calls for celebration when we have men and women who commit themselves not just to service, but service here in Knightdale. It's so fitting that we get to do this oath on the heels of the proclamation that the mayor just read. And we are very excited this evening to be able to introduce to you 4 new police officers who are joining our family and committing themselves to the service that the mayor just spoke of. And so I'm going to ask if these officers, along with their chosen family members, will make their way to the front of the room. As they do, I will mention that none of these officers are strangers to service. In fact, 3 of these officers have previously served as law enforcement officers in other communities. Mr. Felix Cepeda comes to us from the Raleigh Police Department. Mr. Josiah Parker comes to us from the Wilson Police Department. And Miss Emily Plummer comes to us from the Greenville Police Department. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Mr. Sandy Collins, Jr., who has spent over 2 decades serving our country as a U.S. Marine. And so we are extraordinarily proud to have these men and women now joining our ranks. And as they make their way to the front of the room, Mayor, I believe you're going to help us out with the oath.
Do solemnly swear
Do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the constitutional and laws of the United States
the constitutional and laws of the United States
and the Constitution and laws of North Carolina,
and the Constitution and laws of North Carolina,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and I will faithfully discharge
the duties of my office as police officer.
the duties of my office as police officer.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
As the mayor is making her way back to her seat, I've asked these officers to remain here for just a moment. It's very important that as a part of this ceremonial oath that we issue a public charge. Now, this is something that the 5 of us have talked about extensively already, but here in the presence of your colleagues, here in the presence of these witnesses, here in the presence of these elected officials, it's important to remind you that there are 5 simple rules that form the culture of our organization and what we believe form the culture of great service to this community. These 5 rules are non-negotiable. These 5 rules will ensure your success as you navigate the duties and the responsibilities that you have to the citizens of Knightdale. And they are very simply this. Rule number 1, the mission comes first. And our mission is about other people. Personal objectives, loyalties that you may have to other individuals, those things are fine and they have their place. But nothing is more important than our mission of serving others. Rule number 2, everything that you do, the way that you engage people, the way that you treat people, the way that you perform your services must be commensurate with our core values. You must always embody things that represent the qualities of this profession: professionalism, respect, integrity, dedication, ethical conduct. Rule number 3, tell 100% of the truth 100% of the time. The truth is not always easy, it's not always popular, and sometimes even the truth has consequences. But at the end of the day, it's what protects your integrity, and it's what protects our integrity as police officers. Rule number 4, remember this oath. You didn't pledge allegiance to me, to any individual, but instead you pledged an allegiance and a commitment to a set of ideals and principles that hold our great constitutional republic together. Never break that public promise. And finally, rule number 5, perfection is never the standard, but we expect you to always give your best effort in everything that you do. The people that you work alongside of, the people that you serve in our community deserve nothing less than your best. And ladies and gentlemen, I will tell you, if you do these 5 things, everything else takes care of itself. We're proud to have you on board. We're excited about what you're going to accomplish, and we can't wait to see the great things that you're going to do into the future. We have high hopes for you, and I know that you won't let us down. Thank you.
Congratulations again. Welcome to the town of Knightdale. We are so glad that you chose Knightdale, and we're glad to have you as part of our Knightdale family. So, next is our Mayor's Monarch Pledge. For the 5th year now, the town of Knightdale has joined the National Wildlife Federation's efforts to raise awareness about the decline of the monarch butterfly and the species' need for habitat. We are committed to this effort, and we pledge to encourage residents to plant monarch gardens, I know. To engage with community garden groups, to plant native milkweed and nectar-producing plants, to engage with community leaders to identify opportunities to create monarch habitats, to host a native seed or plant giveaway, to display educational signage at monarch gardens and pollinator habitats. So therefore, I, Jessica Day, the mayor of the town of Knightdale, North Carolina, do hereby proclaim April 15th, 2026 as Mayor's Monarch Pledge Day in the town of Knightdale. And I encourage all residents to participate in community activities that support and that celebrate monarch conservation. And next is our public comment period. This is an opportunity for anyone who wishes to address the council on an item that is not on the agenda. If you would like to, you may come forward at this time. All right. If not, then I will bring it to the council for any reports on citizens' inquiries. Any reports to share? All right. If not, then we'll move to the consent agenda. Questions or comments on the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Majority approves. Motion carries. We'll move to our old business, ZMA-1-25, Phase-in Reserve.
Good evening, Council. Thank you, Mayor Day. So jumping right into it, old business item is ZMA 1-25, which is Phase-in Reserve Plan Unit Development. It's a zoning map amendment for approximately 184 residential units and some commercial uses in the form of a commercial out parcel. Subject property is about 58 acres in size. It's located about midway between the Churchill and Woodfield Lane communities on the north side of Old Phase-in Road. We've been working with the applicant and developer and their team for quite some time now, working through our traditional process, approval process. So tonight we are holding this public meeting for Town Council to make their final decision on the proposal. As we move through the presentation, we spent a lot of time in the joint public hearing diving into the merits of the case and the specific elements. If we can just recall those detailed conversations that we had back in February, I will gladly answer any questions, remind you of those conversations. But a lot of what was discussed related to the proposed development's impacts on the adjacent neighbors, the existing development pattern in the area, impacts on traffic, how folks are going to be getting in and out of this proposed neighborhood, and how motorists would navigate the adjacent neighborhoods. Also, some discussions were about buffering and impacts to the environment, and what would happen to the property if it were to be approved and developed as a residential neighborhood. There was also a lot of discussions about the required and committed roadway improvements that would come online with this project if it were to be approved by council. Namely the Wide Waters Parkway extension. The Comprehensive Transportation Plan identifies this a segment of this major roadway coming through the property, so therefore it's a requirement for this developer to build. So with that, we had discussions about, to the north, potential for a future above-grade bridge over the railroad there, and then at the south of the subject property had discussions about the potential for a roundabout, which is the town's preference for an intersection improvement here. So there were some things that the developer had to do after the joint public hearing to investigate these further. So we spent some time working with the developer on potential concepts on the bridge design and the conceptual designs of the roundabout as well, and how that would impact adjacent properties. And then in March, we came back to this room, and the LURB held a public meeting to see what has changed with the development after the joint public hearing. And we went over the proposed changes to the plan and discussed in detail the comprehensive plan and how this project is consistent with that plan. I mentioned that traffic impacts were very heavily talked about, at the joint public hearing. Those conversations were continued to the LURB meeting. Again, the LURB was asking about the impacts to the adjacent properties, and what does the future of the area look like if this project is approved. There's also discussions about just lot sizes and housing types that could fit on those smaller lots, phasing and timing. Again, talks about the existing environmental features and the future of those environmental features, and then just questions about stormwater control and impacts to the wetlands. So here's just a quick look of the revised master plan. It largely remains the same as what you've been seeing over the past several months. Again, it's 184 residential units and about 7,500 square feet of commercial space up there on Old Faison Road. A variety of lot widths and housing types are proposed throughout. Great deal of different open spaces, recreational opportunities towards a central portion of the site. So those are kind of the major points of the proposal here that's before you tonight. Mentioned that there is a plan for a future above-grade railroad crossing at the north of the property that would extend Wide Waters Parkway eventually to the north to Knightdale Boulevard. At the joint public hearing, there was questions or comments asking if we could, if the developer could provide some renderings of what this bridge may look like, to see what visual impacts the subject neighborhood may have and the adjacent neighborhoods. So the applicant put together these renderings here to give you a glimpse looking north, what this bridge may look like. There was also an ask to look at the impacts of what the impacts the roundabout would have on the adjacent properties, knowing that there's a manufactured home community adjacent to the property and some other single-family homes. So the applicant and developer, their engineer, prepared this exhibit here to show basically the extent of what a roundabout would look like if it were to be constructed in the area. Since this exhibit was prepared, we've been having conversations with the applicant to see if this is a feasible option, or if it would have too many extending impacts and would be difficult to come to fruition. In those conversations, there's not 100% certainty if the roundabout can be built, but the applicant has offered a zoning condition that commits them to continuing working with staff and the engineers and the adjacent property owners to see if there's a way to make this work. And also in that condition, there's some language about the developer ensuring that they don't place homes or buildings on the north side of Old Faison Road, which would, in an effort to make sure that in the future, if a roundabout were to be constructed, there's no new homes in the way. And then you've seen this graphic. It just shows the overall goal of Wide Waters Parkway extending from Knightdale Boulevard all the way down to Bethlehem Road at Crosscut Place. Along with this plan unit development rezoning request, there were several site development allowances requested. We did go into these in pretty good detail at the joint public hearing. I have them all listed here. Most of them are pretty standard for what we see for plan unit developments of this size. So related to lot width, driveway lanes, setbacks, and building heights, residential clearing and grading, distribution of uses, and then the intersection design. Namely the roundabout improvements. As a reminder, this is a plan unit development rezoning with a UR12 based zoning district. Council is very familiar with this plan unit development process and that the standards must be met unless alternative provisions are proposed, and council can request but not require additional conditions. And as I've mentioned, the applicant and I have been working together. They've worked up some conditions that they've accepted and are willing to tie to any decision made on this plan unit development. So before we get into the comprehensive plan itself, council is required that prior to making the decision that they adopt a consistency statement describing whether the action's consistent with the comprehensive plan and why the action is reasonable in the public interest. So this At the LURB meeting, the LURB spent a good deal of time looking into the comprehensive plan and discussing its merits and how this application may or may not align with that. So looking at the intentional growth area map, this subject property is located within a secondary growth area based on the proposal, which is generally consistent with this map. Moving on to the urban small town framework map, it's located within a mixed-use development target area, and there's not a whole lot of guidance provided, from this map. It defers a lot of it to the future place type map, for what describes a mixed-use neighborhood, but the proposal is generally consistent with the urban small town framework map. Future place type map, again, it's identified as a mixed-use neighborhood. If you recall from the proposal, there are a variety of housing types, variety of lot sizes, home choices, homes facing the streets and open spaces, and with small parks and open spaces throughout. So the proposal is generally consistent with that future place type map as well. Talked about the future of Wide Waters Parkway and the connections to the north and south of the property. Based on the proposal, that proposal was generally consistent with the roadway network plan. The same applies to the side path and greenway plan. Wide Waters Parkway, as proposed, would have greenway facilities along it, and at times that greenway trail would veer off into some of the natural features of the site. But overall, this proposal is generally consistent with the side path and greenway plan. Another quick look at the level of investment that this application or this rezoning would invest into the town through the Wide Waters Parkway extension corridor. Analyzing the strategic plan, we found that there are 3 focus areas that this application could embrace and are showing commitment to. The comprehensive parks and recreational plan, the subject property is located within several of the service areas of our existing parks. It's also adding additional public greenway trails that will help pedestrians, bicyclists, and everyone get around town on our great greenway system. Looking at the 8 guiding principles, again, these are the guiding principles that the comprehensive plan identifies and town council identifies as important features that should be embraced at all costs for developments. Looking at this, 6 out of the 8 are identified that this application, the rezoning, could embrace and further the goals of the comprehensive plan and town's vision. Affordable Knightdale plan, if you recall, one of the conditions that's been offered is that monetary contribution to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund will be made at certain times throughout the development process. The amount is based off of the type of housing unit, so there's financial contributions being committed to here, and then there's also, based on the lot mix, housing types, there's the ability that this neighborhood would expand housing options, could create mixed income focuses, and also become an inclusive, livable environment. So I'm not going to go through all the offer conditions. They all remain largely the same since the LURB meeting, which was included in their recommendation, but there are a couple extras. But I mentioned that there's a financial contribution to Affordable Knightdale. There's a condition that for the townhome units, 2 dwelling units could be permitted within those townhome units. So as a reminder, they're asking for a maximum of 4 stories for townhomes. So there may be a builder or an option where the top 2 floors are 1 dwelling unit and the bottom 2 are another dwelling unit. So just they're offering that condition to remain committed to providing another type of housing option here. Pollinator gardens, educational signage, hopefully some information about our beautiful monarch butterflies can be added into these areas here. Other conditions about making sure that the commercial out parcel is viable and ready for development by stubbing utilities there. and then preventing or any construction traffic from using the existing neighborhood roads on either side. This is a new one related to the roundabout, but it's essentially just saying that the developer, if this is to be approved, would continue working with us, continue working with our transportation partners to figure out if a roundabout's feasible, that you know, limits the impacts to adjacent property owners as much as possible. Also, you know, states that the developer should not, you know, place any improvements in an area that would prohibit any future roundabout from being constructed. And then a specific condition about developing conceptual plans for the bridge design over the railroad, and has the developer committing to further detailing this, further working with staff if this project were to be approved, to ensure that it makes its way into a development agreement, so then we can have a clear plan for you know, when conceptual drawings come in for the bridge, when other more detailed plans come in, when any reimbursements are allocated. But essentially, it just it commits the developer to, you know, staying in contact with us as we work through construction drawings to make sure that this bridge is a viable option into the future. Mentioned a couple times that LURB met in March 9th, to review this proposal. They did recommend approval 3-2 with conditions, and they forwarded the following advisory statement describing plan consistency and reasonable action. So I'll go ahead and read this into the record so y'all do not, but LURB made the following recommended advisory statement: that the proposed zoning map amendment is consistent with the Knightdale Next V.2 2035 comprehensive plan, as it addresses several of the guiding principles, such as providing a variety of housing options with access to inclusive public and private spaces that are connected by multimodal options for residents and visitors in the greater community, while concentrating development in certain areas that limit impacts to the existing environment and its sensitive features. Furthermore, the proposal embraces elements of the mixed-use neighborhood future place type through commitment to integrating different housing types while incorporating missing middle home choices that are interconnected with adjacent roadways, neighborhoods, and commercial opportunities. The request is reasonable and in the public interest, as it expands publicly accessible routing options for vehicles, bicycles, and pedestrians in the vicinity and across the town of Knightdale, which aids in developing a vibrant, sustainable, and safe community, which people not only desire to visit, but also to live, work, and play. And they also included 6 out of the 9 conditions, but though the numbers 7 and 8 were added after the LURB meeting and after the most recent town council work session, based on conversations and possibilities for commitments related to these important roadway improvements. So those are all there, again, listed. But with that, this concludes my presentation. It is staff's recommendation to adopt the LURB recommended advisory statement regarding comprehensive plan consistency, adopt the conditions as proposed on the previous slide, adopt ordinance number 260415-002, and approve ZMA 1-25 with conditions. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any questions? Council? Mm-hmm.
So, Kevin, back to the roundabout, I guess. So the continued discussion and working with staff, what is the largest hurdles to cross there? Is it the proximity to, I know we at one time was looking at a proposed roundabout down at Bethlehem and Old Faison. Is it in that proximity one to the other, and then also gaining right-of-way access from private property as it relates to that, where that roundabout would be?
Yeah, it's mostly, you know, the applicant doesn't know what the neighbors right now are willing to commit to. Are they willing to sell? Are they willing to provide easements? So there's one thing to be able to, you know, put a well-designed roundabout on a picture, but it's also working with the adjacent properties and seeing if they're willing, because if we can't, or if the applicant can't, get the right of way, it makes it very difficult to install the improvements. So it seems to be just a little early in the process. I know that it's not the best not to know kind of the future of this, but I would say right-of-way acquisition is going to be probably the biggest hurdle at this point.
Thank you.
With regards to the commercial parcel there, was there any discussion with the applicant about the possibility of having the construction of it before the end of the phase, end of the build out, be part of this? I know when with, what was it, Linden Oaks we just did, they agreed to construct the out parcel building versus just leaving it as a pad.
If memory serves correctly, no, there has not been discussions about actual constructing the building. I believe we did talk about it in the joint public hearing. But, right now there haven't been any tenants identified. So no, I don't think that's on the table at this point.
And at this point, if a commercial tenant is identified, there's no additional process. It would be, as long as they're meeting the UDO for UR12 and this conditional district, that it would be an administrative approval.
Yeah, in the PUD document and in the proposal, it lists the potential permitted uses on that commercial out parcel. They are neighborhood serving, so your coffee shops, your professional services, your offices, your daycares. So as long as a use that fits those uses that are in the PUD document, then yes, it would just follow administrative approval process.
And then one additional question. I know we talked a lot about traffic calming on Woodfield. We talked a little bit about some like possible placemaking or signage or something like that to differentiate the Churchill side from Face and Reserve, Woodfield from Face and Reserve. But I didn't see that specifically called out in the conditions. It's in the plan, so it's enough, or it didn't get included, or?
Yeah, so for Woodfield Lane, we did look at potentially seeing if we could do some traffic calming along Woodfield Lane off-site and everything. Woodfield Lane's it's a DOT road, which adds additional hurdles to get over, but the Woodfield Lane community would have to commission a traffic study to determine if there is a true traffic or speeding concern before DOT would actually allow some traffic calming on that road. So we investigated that. If it was a town road, it'd be a little bit easier. We'd have to work with our fire department. In terms of signage, you are correct that no specific conditions have been added there. I can't say that there's been a lot of discussion on what that signage would look like. I'd be happy to continue those conversations with the applicant, following this meeting. I'm open to any other specific feedback you might be interested. That way we can continue communicating that. See if that's something that could be implemented, even if it's not tied to a specific condition.
Any other questions?
Can we go to the slide with the railroad recommendation on it? Or with all the recommendations?
The conditions?
Yes, I'm sorry. I just want to make sure that I'm reading this correctly. So let's say neighborhood's fully built out. Railroad bridge hasn't been constructed yet. Where should we be ending this process in terms of the railroad bridge? I want to make sure I have a clear understanding of what our expectations are from this condition. Like, where do we end things?
Yeah, so the initial portion of this condition is to get concept plans. So, say like 30% concept plans, plans that are approved by the railroad operator and owner. So then, we will have that set of plans, which then are used to tell everyone involved that, okay, the railroad's okay with this as conceptually set up. And then from there, it would, we would identify any reimbursements through the development agreement, and then past that, we've already had conversations with the applicant to engage a engineer. They've been talking with Stantec right now, and they've started to get estimates on what a fully engineered plan set would look like. So really, this is a commitment to keep on working, keep on discussing how this bridge comes to fruition until we get to the development agreement. And then whenever we are drafting a development agreement, that will dictate more specifics on how the plans are developed and when things are reimbursed, and I guess what the last stop is, and is it full completion, is it full build? You know, I will say that, you know, there's a lot of players involved in this, so, you know, we don't have a full idea of how it plays out. But, you know, the applicant has been a great partner up until this point, and has, you know, done a lot of work that others have not. So I would think that, you know, if the project were to be approved, you know, they would keep on engaging those engineers, and we would start to get a better grasp on things, and then through our council and staff's continual, you know, conversations and everything, we would keep you updated and hopefully be able to fill in some blanks.
Okay, yeah, I was just trying to get an idea of, you know, at the end of the process, are we looking at a shovel-ready project? Are we looking at partnering for build-out? Or, you know, so to be determined, it sounds like.
That's what we're trying to get to. You know, it's still, the applicant's still trying to figure out, you know, because they may just be doing going through this process, and they may have other builders and other site contractors that do work. So the applicant developer has to figure out who can they bring to the table that, you know, could lead to a successful bridge project. But the end goal is that we do have, you know, well-developed plans that, you know, can be taken to a bridge vendor and constructed, whether it be a private developer or even, you know, the town.
Just one quick question. Can you go back to the 8 guiding principle? So with this development, they have achieved 6 out of the 8 principles. And just as a norm, when we're dealing with developers, is it the norm that we've approved developments that they have had about 6 or more, or is this the norm of what we would normally approve?
Yeah, I would say, you know, we're always going to strive for embracing all 8. But 6 is really good compared to some other developments. You know, there have been some developments that have been approved with less than half. But, you know, every proposal should be judged on its own merits. But I would say that, you know, 6 out of 8 is strong. And, you know, council has, you know, seen other proposals that isn't quite as strong before.
All right. So in the discussion you had with Councilman McDonald regarding the bridge, all right, let's go back to that. Let's walk through that, because I think this is where the merit of this development really hinges on the railroad crossing. So I know you said that the developer has been very amenable up to present in conversations and discussion regarding the bridge. So at a minimum, conceptual plans for the bridge. Does those conceptual plans include engineering? What does that look like from a build out of a conceptual plan?
Yeah, so the applicant would engage an engineer, and who they're talking with now is a group that is familiar with this particular railroad, has gone through the review process. So the conceptual plans are really plans that are sufficient enough that the railroad will approve them. So at this point, no improvements are allowed within the railroad right-of-way unless the owner and operator say yes. And that is quite a hurdle to get them to say yes. So the conceptual plans and the work that would be done would be, back and forth between the developer and the railroad company working through that. So then once the railroad company and operator say that you're good to go, then the applicant and developer could take those conceptual plans and invest more into them to get more details added to the plans to get them closer to shovel ready.
Okay, so these conceptual plans get it to the railroad commission, railroad owner to start their review process for whether or not they will approve the crossing.
Yes, gets
Okay.
it to the railroad and through the railroad approval process.
Okay. Okay.
All right. Any additional? Or ready to make a motion?
So I'll make a motion. I think that this has gotten us closer to that connection point than we've had in the past. I think there's still some work that staff needs to stay vetted with, particularly with the roundabout and all. But I will motion to adopt the LURB recommended advisory statement regarding the comprehensive plan consistency, adopt conditions as proposed, adopt the ordinance 2604-15002, and approve ZMA 125 with conditions.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Majority approves. Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Next is advisory board and committee reports. This is an opportunity for council members to share any updates from any recent advisory boards or committees. Are there any information to share?
One quick advisory board update from the LURB. Councilman Bussey and I attended the LURB meeting on Monday night, and they had their officer elections, and Taylor Norton was elected as chair, and Anthony Simmons was elected as vice chair. And so we're happy to have this leadership in place now and look forward to working with them on moving initiatives forward through the LURB.
Awesome, that's great. Thank you for that update.
Just an update on PRAB. The scheduled meeting for April 27th was canceled and rescheduled for Monday, May 11th from 6 to 7.
Thank you.
Crab also got rescheduled, and I'm looking forward to attending.
Thank you. Anything else?
All right. So I've been told that we need to go into closed session. So before we do, may I have a motion to enter into closed session pursuant to NC General Statute 143, 318.11, A3 and 5.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Majority approves. Motion carries. We will take a quick moment. Thank you everyone for joining us for our April Town Council meeting, and then we will go into closed session.